The GRE is just, well, standardized testing as a whole, but especially the GRE. It's one of the things I hate most in the world. Just, it gets like under my skin in a way that nothing else does. Hey, hello, my name is JoJo and welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, welcome. So there may be some of you who didn't apply to PhD programs this year, or like this most recent application season, but you may be preparing to apply this upcoming year. And so for most or many of you, that probably means that you are preparing to take the GRE. So I thought it would be helpful to do a video of me kind of just talking about my GRE experience and kind of what I did to prepare for the exam, or prepare for it to the best of my abilities, because it was a time. Now, I have some very strong opinions about the GRE and its proven unusefulness. And during the pandemic we are currently experiencing, I was so happy to see that so many programs waived their GRE requirements, and a lot of those programs have now begun to realize that you don't actually need GRE scores to determine someone's worthiness for school. Because for some reason that was a shock to so many academics. And so a lot of programs also waived their GRE requirements for this most recent application season. I don't know if that's going to continue. However, I do know that there were some programs who went back to requesting GRE scores with applications. And I want to find whoever's in charge and smack some sense into them. So nevertheless, the GRE is at least gonna continue to be a thing for some of you, and so let's talk about it. So depending on the programs you apply to, you may be required to take the GRE general test, and some programs also require the GRE psychology subject test, which is a shorter test focused entirely on psychology. I did not take the subject test because I intentionally applied both times. I've applied to PhD programs twice. Both times I applied, I intentionally chose to apply to programs that did not require the subject test. One, because I couldn't afford it, but also two, I just absolutely refused to do that to myself. I come from a working class family, and so there were a lot of costs I had to consider when I was applying to programs, and being forced to pay hundreds of dollars to take these exams is not we're just gonna skip over that because I could rant about that. Anyway, I'm gonna try not to turn this into a GRE rant. But yeah, just the cost of taking these exams, in addition to all of the other costs that come with applying to grad school programs, is absolutely outrageous. So I just couldn't afford it. And on top of that, like, the stress and anxiety that these exams can cause people, like myself included, can have such a like viciously negative impact on people's mental health. I suffered many a panic attack in the months leading up to my GRE, including to the morning I went to take the exam. So yeah, these exams just are not the way to go, but they exist and we have to do them. So anyway, back to the point. Sorry for that little tangent. But back to the point. So because I didn't take the psychology subject test, I will not be talking about that today because I just have no experience with it. But I do know, I looked it up before I started recording. I do know that the psychology subject test is about 2.5 to 3 hours long, and it costs $150 to register for. So do with that information what you will. So going back to the GRE general test, just some basic information about how the test is structured. So the test itself is about 4 hours long, and it's broken down into 6 sections. There are 2 verbal reasoning sections, which are basically like reading comprehension, vocabulary, that kind of stuff. 2 quantitative sections, which is math, and an analytical writing section that is broken down into 2 individually timed writing prompts, which are one, analyze an issue, and the other is analyze an argument. You get 35 minutes per quant section, 30 minutes per verbal section, and 30 minutes per writing prompt. And you get a 10-minute break about halfway through, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So as for my personal GRE experience, I started prepping for my exam about 5 months before I was scheduled to take it. So there are a few different ways you could prepare for the GRE, and how many of those ways you personally can take advantage of kind of depends on how much money you can and or are willing to shell out. Obviously, my personal opinion, you can succeed without spending money. I did it spending as little money as I possibly could, but money is the name of the game here. Like, that's just what it is. So I'm just gonna go through a couple of the resources that I used that I feel like really helped me prepare. Most of them were free. I think I paid for one thing, but other than that, all of the other resources I used were free. But in case you do have the money and are willing to spend that money to make sure you have the best possible chance of getting a great score, I will also include some of the other resources that I came across that I personally didn't use, but that might be helpful for you. And I will include all of the links to all of the resources I'm gonna mention in my description below. None of this is sponsored. This is not like an advertisement. I just want to be as transparent as possible that some of these things do cost money, but like I'm not benefiting from this in any way other than like the satisfaction of helping you. Okay, so first things first, I had to register for the exam. When I registered for the exam, I don't know if this is like the universal website to register for the GRE, but I registered for the GRE through a website called ETS. And when you're registering for the exam, they kind of present you before you like check out with a list of like prep materials that they suggest. It's like their own prep materials that they offer. And I did end up buying one of their like prep packs. So the one that I bought was called the ETS Official GRE Super Power Pack ebook. That was a lot, but it was $72. In the power pack, you got 3 books. I think it was, the first was just a general guide to the GRE. The second was the quant reasoning book, which comes with like a bunch of practice questions and explanations, and the verbal reasoning book, which comes with a bunch of practice questions and explanations and stuff like that. With the power pack, you also got access to 4 full-length practice tests. 2 of them were in the book itself, and you basically had to like hand score it when you were done. And if you wanted to like practice being in like the real setting, then you would have had to like set the timer up yourself and be really like honest about timing yourself. And then 2 online full-length practice tests that were scored and timed for you. So that's all that you got with the $72 power pack. That is what I bought. That is all I bought. So the test itself is $205, and then I bought the $72 power pack. ETS also has a free online full-length practice test that I think anyone can get access to if you register for the exam. And I also took that practice test, but it is unscored and it's untimed. So that one's more so if you just want to like get a feel for like what the test is going to look like. But I did use that one as well. So in total, I had 5 practice tests that I took in preparation for the GRE. And I think I took one each month leading up to the exam to kind of track my progress. A couple of other options that ETS offers you that I personally didn't use, but that are there in case you want to use them. They offer a practice test 3-pack. So you can buy access to 3 additional practice tests outside of the ones you get with the Power Pack ebook, and that is $39.95 per test. So whatever that totals up to be, I didn't do the math. And then they also offered an online writing practice, which is a practice test for the analytical writing section, which isn't included in the Power Pack. There is no practice for the analytical writing section in the Power Pack. So if you wanted to practice that, you would have to buy that separately, and that is $20. So like I mentioned, I didn't use any of those. I just bought the Power Pack ebook and used the technically 5 practice tests that come with that. So if you are very familiar with standardized testing, you may be familiar with a company called Kaplan, which has prep materials for pretty much every standardized test that exists because they love to make money off of people. But despite what I think about the company itself, they did offer some free GRE prep materials that I found useful. So the first is in like their GRE section, they have a question of the day, and it's basically every day they post a new GRE type question that you can answer, and if it's wrong, they will give you an explanation of why the answer you chose is wrong. If it's a quant question, then they will show you the equation that you should have used and how the equation would have given you the answer that was right. And if there's a particular explanation that didn't really make sense to you, you can email someone on the Kaplan GRE support team, and they will email you back with a even deeper explanation of why the correct answer is the correct answer and why the wrong answer is the wrong answer. So I found that kind of helpful, just to have like a random question to answer every day in addition to what I was, practicing in the prep books. There's also a free, what they call 20-minute workout, which is just 12 GRE style questions that they have posted that you can answer. And I think at the bottom of the page is where all the right answers are, and you can like double check your answers. The only downside about this was that the questions don't change every day. It's the same 12 questions every time you go to the workout. So if you're gonna use this, I suggest either only using it once as kind of like a mini tester to see where your knowledge is, or if you're gonna try to use it more than one time, space out when you use it over a period of months so that you don't like remember the answers. Although I don't know how useful that would be in that case. So I only used it once because I went back a second time and realized that the questions didn't change. So also when I was looking up all of this stuff to try to remember what I used, I saw on Kaplan's website now that they also have a full-length practice test that's free. I don't remember using that, so I don't know if that was offered at the time. Like, I don't know if that was there when I was doing all of this stuff, but it's there now. So if you want an extra free practice test to take, Kaplan has one. I don't know if it's scored or if it's timed for you. That's something you would have to figure out once you go to take it, but it's there, and I will put the link in the description. And then the last thing that I used from Kaplan was that they offered free GRE workshops every week, it was, and sometimes like multiple times a week. And those are like live sessions with a GRE tutor, and I think they lasted like an hour long. I think they were like an hour long, and each session would be dedicated to like a particular topic that might come up on the exam. And those were like definitely helpful. Like they would go over like practice questions with you, and they would kind of walk you step by step through how to get answers. Outside of like the prep book that I bought, like that was probably the most helpful thing for me. And those workshops you have to register for ahead of time, but they have a calendar on their website that kind of shows you when the events are happening, and you can just click on each one and register for it. So yeah, those are all of the free things from Kaplan that I used. But again, if you have the money, I'm going to mention a couple of costly items that you could also use that I know some people find beneficial. So the first thing, Kaplan also has their own set of prep book materials that they offer, which include like a question bank that I think has like 2,000 plus questions, and they have like practice tests that you can buy. So the cheapest option there is $69, and then the next highest option is $149, and then the most expensive option there is $199. So those are like test prep materials. They also have GRE prep courses that you can take, which I think, based on what I know of them, are pretty similar to the workshops that they do. They might be a little bit longer and a little bit more in depth, and you can take them live or online, or like they have courses that they call on-demand courses, which I think is like they set up modules for you and you kind of just do them at your own pace. So the cheapest option for prep courses is $449. The next tier up is $999, and then the highest tier is $1,199, $1,199. So that's a thing. And then obviously the most expensive of the bunch, they have GRE tutoring, which is a one-on-one with you and a tutor, and that is $2,299 right now. I think that's a special price that they have happening right now. I think that's what I saw on the website. I don't think that's the regular price. I think it's more expensive than that, but right now I think there's a discount happening, so that's the price it is currently at the time I'm recording this. It might change, but yeah, those are things you can pay for through Kaplan that you might find helpful. Oh, I'm also remembering now that I used an app from Kaplan. They had like a GRE vocab flashcard app that I downloaded. It was like flashcards of a bunch of words that have been on like past GREs, and like words that might pop up on future GREs. I think I had that too. If I can find that app, I will also link it. But if I can't find it, then I think there are like a bunch of flashcard apps that you can download, like not just Kaplan's. There are a bunch of free ones, but the one from Kaplan was also free, and I think I used that as well. So yeah. And that's pretty much it. I mean, overall, my GRE experience was not great. Preparing for it was just nothing but stress and anxiety for me, because at the time they were making it seem like GRE scores were like the make or break of applications, and I was like, oh my god, if I don't get this exact score, then like I'm not gonna get into school. I actually don't remember what my scores were. I know they were pretty high. Like I actually did surprisingly well. Like I remember I had a target score that I was hoping for, and I got above my target score. I know that. I just don't remember exactly what my score was, because I'm pretty sure I have now blocked out that part of my life because of how like unnecessarily stressful it was for me. But you know, everyone's gonna react differently. I am really bad when it comes to test taking. It's just always been really stressful for me. But you know, you might be a really chill, amazing test taker, and if that's the case, kudos to you. So with that being said, thank you for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end. I truly appreciate it. Hopefully some of the materials that I linked down below will be able to help you prepare if you are currently in the process of prepping for the GRE. And if you are also taking the psychology subject test GRE, you know, more power to you, because that's a lot to take on. But yeah, leave me a comment down below if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and click that little notification button so you don't miss my next upload, and I will see you in my next one.